everybody, Chris the old ass retro gamer here, and welcome to another episode of Top 3 Tuesday. Today's actually going to be a movie themed Top 3 Tuesday. I want to throw a few of them in here every once in a while just to mix things up a little bit so it's not all video games. Today I wanted to talk about one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, ever since I was a little kid, and that is John Carpenter. The guy can do anything. He's done dramas, he's done comedies, he's done horror movies, he's done science fiction movies, he's done action movies, he's done pretty much everything, except win an Oscar. I think that he has a great filmography. He's shown his versatility I don't know how many times. I think he's surprised a lot of people with how smart his movies are, especially like years down the line where like, wow, that's kind of prophetic, especially in the case of a couple of his movies from the late 80s. But there's one thing I think everybody can agree on when it comes to John Carpenter's filmography, and is that pretty much every single one of his movies is extremely entertaining. So here we go with my top 3 John Carpenter films. Big Trouble in Little China. This is a movie that I could probably pop in any day of the week and watch it from beginning to end and still laugh at all the dumb jokes. This is one of those movies where John Carpenter was like, you know what, I'm kind of sick of doing all of these horror movies and thrillers. I want to do something goofy. It takes a lot of liberties with Chinese mysticism and all that, but it is a fast, fun, and hysterical film. But we got John Carpenter working with Kurt Russell yet again. Kurt Russell was like John Carpenter's muse for a while in the late 70s through the mid 80s. They seem to really like each other, and that's why they made so many films together. But the best part of this movie isn't the fact that it is funny or there's a lot of really cool martial arts action, cool special effects and whatnot. It's the fact that Kurt Russell, who you would think is playing the hero since he's all over the merchandising of the movie, the posters, like the DVD cover, he's the most prominently featured, is actually the sidekick. Wang, who's played by Dennis Dunn, is actually the hero of the film. Kurt Russell is his bumbling, goofy, idiot sidekick that's tagging along, always getting into trouble, not really helping out when he needs to, just kind of getting in the way, although he does have a really cool hero moment towards the end. I thought that was a brilliant twist on the formula, and the fact that Kurt Russell kind of plays his character of Jack Burton like a dumb John Wayne, especially with like the way he talks and everything and his cadence of his dialogue deliveries. Every character is fun to watch, especially Low Panties. The sounds that guy makes crack me up to no end. Great music by John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. I have the soundtrack on vinyl. It's fantastic. I still listen to it to this day. It had a decent budget, so I mean there's a lot of really cool makeup effects and sets and everything. If you want a movie that's just going to put a smile on your face from beginning to end, this is the one for you, because it just cheers me up every time I watch it. In the Mouth of Madness. This one kind of came out of nowhere. John Carpenter had kind of like fallen off the wagon for a little while because he did Memoirs of an Invisible Man. At that point in time, that was Carpenter's biggest budgeted movie, and it flopped hard. So people were really kind of unwilling to give him a lot of money to make movies anymore. New Line Cinema took a chance on him, threw a script at him that was very Lovecraftian and a very, very low budget. And they said, make this happen. And he did. I went and saw this with some friends opening weekend, and damn, all of us were blown away by what we were seeing. Intelligently written, plays around with H.P. Lovecraft tropes, and is one hell of a mind. This one plays with your expectations like none other. What you think is going to happen one way actually happens another way. You think this thing is a hoax and it turns out to be real, that kind of stuff. And then once the mind games start, not one of his more violent movies like The Thing or anything like that, but it is smart, fun, and it really makes you think about what would happen if insanity became reality. Great performances by everybody, especially Sam Neill. This was like right after he did Jurassic Park. He picked a great project to keep his name out there. Jürgen Prochnow is creepy as hell in here. Lots of great effects, a lot of really early CGI, which works, especially Prochnow ripping his face open, and you see that his like skin is made out of paper from like a book. I like to say this one is one of the more visceral Carpenter movies. It draws you in and keeps you interested. And it's really snappy. It gets you in and out as fast as possible and rocks your world at the same time. So highly recommend this one if you haven't seen it. The Fog. I knew most of you were thinking I was either going to pick Halloween or The Thing. Don't get me wrong, those two are fantastic movies, but the one that I come back to the most is The Fog. It is also one of the ones that I avoided watching for the longest time out of all of his films because It's a movie called The Fog. It sounded dumb. I finally gave in, rented it from my local video store, and I was like, what the hell was I thinking? This movie is amazing. It is a really cool twist on a ghost story where you have these leper pirates betrayed back in like the 1800s who returned from the grave to seek revenge on the people in this one town who screwed them over and got them all killed. And for a movie that's trying to make a smoke machine scary, it really pulls it off because Carpenter turns out to be the master of suspense. There's a reason why 90% of his horror movies are super effective, because he knows how to create mood, he knows how to make mundane things creepy, and he knows how to film things in a certain way that get under your skin, especially here. Like, there's a shot where Adrienne Barbeau is in her lighthouse DJ booth looking down upon the shore of Antonio Bay where she lives because she sees the fog rolling in from the ocean, and when she turns the lighthouse light off, you would think that you wouldn't be able to see the fog anymore, but it has this really cool subtle glow to it that just makes it really, really creepy. Plus, when the ghosts start showing up and murderizing people, they are not shown in the light. They are kept in the shadows. Sometimes you just might see their eyes glowing a little bit, but their appearance is always signaled by sound effects and John Carpenter's awesome music. This is not a gory movie at all. If you've seen some of his later movies where he like revels in the gore, this one is like Halloween, where he keeps a lot of it off screen and just makes the sound effects do the work. There's an attack that happens on a boat pretty early in the movie, and you see knives and weapons flashing around and slashing people, but it's mostly the sound effects of just skin being torn and people like gargling on their own blood and stuff like that that makes it effective, because just watching blood flying everywhere just wouldn't really do it to keep the mood going the way he wanted it to. This is my favorite John Carpenter movie by far. I watched it at least twice a year. That remake was terrible. Janet Leigh and Jamie Lee Curtis in the same movie, I mean, come on. I love Adrienne Barbeau. I thought she was a great scream queen back in the 80s. And Hal Holbrook just classing up the joint as the drunk priest. And of course, that really awesome, creepy opening monologue by John Houseman that sets up the entire film at the beginning. That's top-notch stuff as far as I'm concerned. And that is my favorite John Carpenter movie of all time. And there you have it, my 3 favorite John Carpenter films. Another one that took me a while to work out which ones I wanted to talk about. I knew The Fog was going to be my number 1, but I kept on saying, ooh, do I pick The Thing? Do I pick They Live? Do I pick Prince of Darkness? Do I pick Escape from New York? Do I pick Halloween? Do I pick Elvis? Starman was like in my hand the whole time going like, ooh, do I? I'll tell you one thing, The Ward will never show up on this list. So what are your favorite John Carpenter movies? He's a very prolific director. Like I said, he is my favorite director of all time. Of all the genres he dabbled in, he seems to revel the most in like horror and sci-fi. But when those two combine, like in The Thing, so many great movies in his resume. So let's see a response video. What are your favorite John Carpenter films? I really want to know. Everyone has different tastes and expects different things from his films. Come on, YouTube community, let's get together and see some response videos on your favorite John Carpenter films. I really want to see what you have to say. So until next time in the next Top 3 Tuesday video, I'm Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off.